If a person has never ridden on a tip cart over wild backcountry roads, then telling him about it is pointless. All the same, he won't understand. And for the person who has done it, well, I don't want to remind him of it. I'll say briefly, it took a full 24 hours for the cart driver and I to travel the 40 versts that separate the district town of Grachivka from Muria Hospital. It was uncanny how we arrived almost to the minute. At 2 p.m. on September 16, 1917, we were at the last silo on the edge of that most wonderful town of Grachivka, and on September 17th of that same unforgettable year, at 5 minutes past 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I stood on dying grass, beaten down and sodden with September rains, in the courtyard of Muria Hospital. I stood in the courtyard, legs ossified, dazed. I mentally flipped through the pages of my textbooks, stupidly trying to recall if such an ailment did indeed exist, or if I had dreamt of it last night in the village of Grabolovka. That illness, where a man's limbs go rigid. What is its damned name in Latin? Each of my muscles ached with an intolerable pain, like that of a toothache. I won't even mention my toes. They no longer moved in my boots. Instead, they lay peacefully, like wooden stumps. I confess, in a burst of disheartened passion, I whispered curses on the medical profession and the entrance application I submitted to the university rector 5 years ago. During this entire time, it drizzled from above, as if through a sieve. My coat welled up like a sponge. With the fingers of my right hand, I futilely tried to grasp the handle of the suitcase, and finally I spat on the wet grass in frustration. My fingers unable to grip anything, my mind filled with all sorts of facts from interesting medical textbooks, I finally remembered the illness. Palsy. Paralysis, I desperately, the devil knows why, said to myself. Traveling on your roads, I said with blue wooden lips, takes a lot of getting used to. I said spitefully for some reason to the cart driver, even though the state of the road wasn't his fault. Ah, comrade doctor, retorted the coachman, his lips barely moving beneath a pale mustache. I've been traveling this road for 15 years, and I still can't get used to it. I shuddered, dismally gazing back at the white peeling paint of the 2-story building, at the unbleached log walls of the Feldscher's cottage, at my own future residence, a 2-story, straight-lined house with mysterious, coffin-like windows. I slowly sighed, and then, dully, there came to me not Latin words, but a sweet phrase sung in my dazed from the journey and cold mind by a plump tenor wearing blue tights. I greet you home, so chaste and pure. Goodbye until we meet again, gold and red swathed stage of the Bolshoi Theater. Goodbye, Moscow, and your shop windows. Ah, goodbye. I'll put on my overcoat next time, I thought, in baleful forsakenness, as I yanked the suitcase by the straps with my stiff hands. But next time it will already be October. Maybe I should wear 2 overcoats. I certainly won't return before a month passes. I won't travel back to Grachivka. Think of it. I had to stay the night. We traveled 20 versts and night fell. Darkness like a tomb. Night. We had to stay the night in Grabolovka. A school teacher took us in. And then this morning we left at 7 in the morning. And God, how we traveled. Slower than a pedestrian. One wheel caught in a pothole, the other spinning in the air, my suitcase falling on my feet, bump, wobbling to the side, then to the other, now sliding forward, now back, and from above the drizzle drizzling, freezing your bones. How could I imagine that in the middle of a foul, sour September, a man could freeze in a field the same as in the midst of a bitter winter? Ah, it seems that he can. And while you die a slow death, you see mile after mile of the same thing. On the right, humpy picked-over fields. To the left, a straggly grove, and across from that, ragged, graying izbas, maybe 5 or 6 of them, and seemingly not a living soul to be found within them. Silence. Silence all around. At last the suitcase fell over. The driver leaned over his stomach and shoved the case directly at me. I wanted to hold it by the strap, but my swollen hands refused to work, and my companion, stuffed with books and all manner of junk, crashed to the ground, striking my legs. "Oh, Lord," began the driver, startled. But I didn't make any complaints. My legs were already good for nothing but to be thrown away. "Hey, anyone here? Hey!" yelled the driver, beating his hands like a rooster his wings. "Hey, I've brought the doctor." At this, faces appeared in the dark glass of the Feldscher's cottage, pressing into the glass. The door banged, and a man in a ragged coat and boots hobbled towards me across the grass. He hurriedly and respectfully removed his cap, ran 2 steps toward me, smiled embarrassedly for some reason, and hoarsely greeted me. "Greetings, comrade doctor." "And who are you?" I asked. "Egorich," the man introduced himself. "The watchman here. We have been waiting for you. Waiting." At this, he grabbed onto the suitcase, threw it up onto his shoulder, and carried it off. I limped after him, unsuccessfully trying to shove a hand into my trouser pocket to pull out my billfold. When it comes down to it, a man needs very little, but above all else, he needs fire. Traveling through the Muria backcountry, I remembered how, back in Moscow, I had vowed to conduct myself respectably. My youthful appearance betrayed me at first sight. I was introduced to everyone. "Dr. So-and-so." And without fail, every single person raised his eyebrows and asked, "Are you really? But I was sure you must still be a student." "No, I completed my studies," I sullenly replied, but thinking to myself, I must start wearing glasses. That's what I must do. But donning glasses served no purpose, my eyes being healthy and unclouded by life experience. Unable to ward off the sweet, condescending smiles with the help of glasses, I instead tried to develop an especially authoritative habit. I tried to speak in a measured and weighty tone, to constrain all possible impatient movements. To not run, as people of 23 and who have just completed university might, but to walk. I understand now, with the hindsight of many years, that it all came across quite poorly. At the present moment, I had violated my unwritten code of behavior. I wore a single sock and sat huddled in the kitchen, not tucked away in a study somewhere, but in the kitchen like some fire worshipper, eagerly reaching for the blazing birch logs in the stove. To my left lay a turned-over washtub, and on it my boots. Alongside them rested a rooster plucked bare, his neck blood-stained, and his many-colored breast feathers piled beside him. Despite my numbed state, I had still managed to do a great number of things which required a great deal of effort. I confirmed Aksenia Vostronosaya, the wife of Yegorich, in her duties as my cook. The rooster, as a result of this, died by her hand. I was obliged to eat him. I met everyone. The feldsher was called Demyan Lukich, the midwives, Pelagia Ivanovna and Anna Nikolaevna. I managed to tour the hospital and was struck by the sheer quantity of medical instruments. Not only were there lots of instruments, I was forced to admit, only to myself of course, that I didn't have a clue as to what use most of these shining virgin tools could be put to. Not only had I never held them in my hand, but I openly admit that I had never before even laid eyes upon them. I intoned meaningfully. You have an exquisite stock of medical instruments. Of course it is, Demyan Lukich sweetly noted. It is the result of the efforts of your predecessor, Leopold Leopoldovich. He operated from morning to night. I broke into a cold sweat and stared dully at the polished, mirrored cabinets. We left to walk through the empty wards, and I was certain that they could easily accommodate 40 people. Leopold Leopoldovich sometimes tended as many as 50, Demyan Lukich assured me, and Anna Nikolaevna, a woman with a crown of gray hair for some reason, added, "You, doctor, are so young, so young. It is immediately noticeable. You look like a student." Curse you, devil, I thought. How alike you all are, honestly. But muttering through gritted teeth, no, that is, yes, I am young. Then we went down to the pharmacy, and I immediately saw that it had everything necessary and more besides. The 2 dark rooms smelled of herbs, and the shelves were loaded with everything imaginable. There were even patented foreign medicines, and is it necessary to add that I had never heard even a rumor of them before? Leopold Leopoldovich ordered all these, Pelagia Ivanovna proudly announced. This Leopold was a real genius, I thought, filled with respect for the enigmatic Leopold who had left the quiet village of Muria. Besides fire, a man needs to be able to adapt to his surroundings. The rooster had long ago been eaten by me. The mattress, stuffed with straw by Yegorich and made up with bedding. A lamp set to burn in the study, in my residence. I sat spellbound, staring at the third achievement of the legendary Leopold. A bookshelf filled to breaking with books. A single series on surgery in both Russian and German ran on for some 30 volumes, and therapeutics, and the wonderful leather-bound atlases. Evening was coming, and I was beginning to adapt. It's not my fault, I stubbornly and excruciatingly repeated to myself. I have my diploma, 15 A's. I even told them that I wanted to work as an assistant doctor. No, they smiled and said, "You'll adapt. Here you are, and get used to it." And what if they bring in a hernia? Tell me, how am I supposed to adapt to a hernia? And what's more, how will a hernia patient fare under my treatment? Will he adapt to that other world? At this, a shiver ran down my spine. And a septic appendix? A diphtheric croup amongst the village boys? When is a tracheotomy warranted? But even without a tracheotomy, I won't know what I'm doing. Or a birth. A birth. How could I forget? Posterior presentation. What am I going to do? What? I'm such an idiot. I should have refused this position. I needed to. They would have found some other Leopold. In the twilight, I anxiously paced the study. When I drew near the lamp, I saw my pallid face alongside the flicking flame, framed by the boundless darkness of fields beyond the window pane. I look like false Dmitri, I foolishly thought, and went to sit at the table again. I sat worrying for nigh on 2 hours, until my nerves could no longer bear up under the cumulations of my fearful imaginings. I began to calm myself and even come up with some plans of action. Look, they said there are very few patients being brought in at the moment. In the villages they are breaking flax, far from the roads. They'll bring you a hernia patient, the dour voice in my head interrupted. A person with a cold, an altogether manageable illness, won't come. But a hernia, that they'll bring you. Do calm yourself, good doctor. The voice wasn't stupid, was it? I shuddered. Shut up, I told the voice. It won't necessarily be a hernia. No need for a nervous breakdown. Now that I've started, there's no turning back. In for the penny, in for the pound, snidely retorted the voice. Well, I won't do a thing without my medical book. If I have to write a prescription, I can think about what to do while washing my hands. My reference manual will be open and laying on top of the appointment book. I'll prescribe useful, simple medicines, like, for example, a 5 milligram sachet of sodium salicylate 3 times a day. You can prescribe baking soda, my internal companion mocked. What does baking soda have to do with anything? I can prescribe syrup of Iposec, 180 cubic centimeters, or maybe 200 cubic centimeters. There, watch me do that. I sat down alone by the lamp and half-heartedly flipped through a pharmaceutical manual, though no one currently needed a prescription of Iposec syrup, and so happened to run across Incipin. While similar to essence of sulfuric quininic acid, it has absolutely no taste of quinine. But what is it for? And how to prescribe it? What is it? A powder? Oh, the devil take it! Incipin smipin. But what will you do with the hernia patient? The voice relentlessly stoked my fears. I'll put him in the bath, I frantically affirmed. Yes, in the bathtub, and I'll try to fix it. A strangulated one, good doctor. Damn good a bath will be. A strangulated hernia, Fear sang with a demon voice. You'll need to operate. Defeated, I almost burst into tears. Send whatever you wish, I prayed to the darkness beyond the window. Anything but a strangulated hernia. Exhaustion sang now. Lay yourself down and sleep, ill-fated physician. Sleep well, and in the morning all will be clear. Calm yourself, young loony. Look, the darkness outside the window is undisturbed. The frozen fields sleep. There is no hernia patient. In the morning it will be clear. Adapt. Sleep. Forget the reference book. You wouldn't know a herniated disc now if it slapped you across the face. How he arrived, I have no idea. I remember the bolt on the door groaning, Aksinya shrieking something. Oh, and also a cart creaking outside the window. He wore no hat. His coat was unbuttoned, a matted beard, crazy eyes. He crossed himself and fell on his knees and thumped his forehead to the floor. He is here for me. This is it, I fatally thought. What's wrong with you? What wrong with you?" I muttered while tugging at a gray sleeve. His face skewed, and he, stifling a sob, garbled disjointed words in answer. "Doctor, sir, she is my only, he shouted suddenly at a volume that rattled the lampshade. "Oh, God, oh!" He wrung his hands in anguish and again banged his forehead to the floorboards, as if he wished he could crush it. "Why? What am I being punished for? How have I angered you?" "What? What happened?" I shouted, feeling my face going cold. He jumped to his feet and, rushing, whispered thus, "Good doctor, whatever you want, I'll give you money. Take money. Whatever you want. We'll deliver food to you. Just don't let her die. Only that she won't die. She'll be lame, that's fine. Let her be lame," he shouted at the ceiling. "I have enough to feed her. I have enough." The bloodless face of Aksiniya appeared in the black rectangle of the door. Dread filled my heart. "What? What is it? Speak!" I yelled. He stopped. His eyes became vacant in a whisper. As if it was a secret, he told me. "She fell in the break." "In the break? In the break," I repeated. "What is that?" "Flax! They were breaking flax, doctor." Aksiniya whispered in explanation. "A break. It is for breaking flax." Here is it. Here is the start of it. Oh, why did I come here? I thought in agony. Who? "My daughter," he answered in a whisper. And then he shouted, "Help me!" And again he fell upon the floor, and his hair, cut in a bowl cut, fell into his eyes. The oil lamp, with its crooked tin shade, burned hotly with 2 flames. On the operating table, on white, fresh-smelling oilcloth, I saw her, and the hernia patient faded from my mind. Pale, strawberry-blonde hair hung off the table in a tangled, dry mat. The braid was gigantic, the end of it brushing the floor. Her calico print skirt was torn, and the blood on it different colors. Reddish-brown, oily red, deep poppy. The color of the oil lamp seemed alive and golden, but her face, papery, white, the nose sharpened. On her face, white and still as plaster, a truly uncommon beauty was fading. Not often, not ever, do you encounter such a face. A full 10 seconds of silence filled the operating room, but through the closed door you could hear someone's deafening shouts and the banging of his head. He's gone mad, I thought, and probably the attendants are giving him a tranquilizer. How is it that she is such a beauty? He has the right cut of the face. It's obvious the mother was beautiful. He is a widower. Is he a widower? I subconsciously whispered. A widower, Pelagia Ivanovna quietly answered. In one crude, violent movement, Demyan Lukich ripped the girl's skirt from the hem to the waist and exposed her. I looked her over, and what I saw surpassed all of my fears. Her left leg was not, strictly speaking, there. Below her shattered knee lay a bloody mass, red mangled muscles from which protruded white shards of bone at all angles. The right leg was broken at the shin, in such a way that both ends of the bone shot out, breaking through the skin. At the end of this, her foot lay lifeless, twisted to the side. "Yes," the feldsher uttered quietly, and then said nothing more. I came out of my stupor and felt for her pulse. In her cold hand, it was not there. Only after several seconds I found the scarcely noticeable rare ripple. It passed. There was a pulse, during the length of which I managed to glance at the bluing wings of her nose and her white lips. I wanted to already pronounce that it was over, but fortunately I waited. Again, the hint of a pulse. That is how the life of a lacerated being is extinguished, I thought. There is nothing you can do. "Camphor," I said authoritatively, not knowing my own voice. Anna Nikolaevna leaned to my ear and whispered, "Why, doctor? Don't torture her. Why add an injection? Now you should go. You won't save her." I angrily and darkly glared at her and said, "I asked for camphor." And Anna Nikolaevna, her mortified face flaming, rushed to the table and broke the ampule. The feldsher also, it appeared, did not approve of the camphor. Still, he deftly and quickly took up the syringe, and the yellow oil slid under the skin at her shoulder. Die. Die faster, I thought. Die. What am I going to do with you otherwise? "Now she will die," the feldsher whispered, as though guessing my thoughts. He glanced over at the sheet, but clearly he thought, it would be a shame to bloody the sheet. Still, in a few seconds it would need to be pulled over her. She lay as a corpse, but she didn't die. Inside my head it suddenly became bright, like under the glass ceiling of my university's distant anatomical theater. "More camphor," I croaked. And again the feldsher dutifully injected the oil. Can it be that she won't die? I despairingly thought. Can it be that I will have to... Inside my brain was all illuminated, and then, without any textbook, without advice, without assistance, I understood, with an unshakable iron conviction, that now I must, for the first time in my life, and on a dying girl, perform an amputation. And the girl would die under the knife. Oh, she would die under the knife. She doesn't even have any blood left. It had escaped from her mangled legs over the 10 versts to the hospital. It wasn't even clear if she could feel anything now, if she could hear. She kept silent. Oh, why doesn't she die? What will her witless father say? "Prepare for an amputation," I said to the feldsher in someone else's voice. The midwife looked wildly at me, but in the eyes of the feldsher flashed a spark of sympathy, and he gathered up the instruments. Under his hands, the Primus stove began to roar. A quarter of an hour gone. With superstitious horror, I peered into her darkening eye, lifted up the cold eyelid. I can't understand it. How can a half-dead body live? Drops of sweat ran uncontrollably down my forehead from under the edge of my white cap. Pelagia Ivanovna wiped the salty sweat with gauze. Caffeine now mixed with the last of the blood flowing through the girl's veins. Was it necessary to have used it or not? Anna Nikolaevna gently rubbed the swelling caused by the saline injection at her hip. And the girl lived. I took up the scalpel, trying to imitate. Once during my time at the university, I had observed an amputation. Someone or other. I now begged fate that in the next half hour she would not die. Let her die in the ward, when I have finished the operation. My common sense kicked in, spurred by the extraordinary circumstances. Like an experienced butcher, I circled and deftly sliced through the thigh. The skin, parting, did not release a single drop of blood. If the blood vessels begin to bleed, what will I do, I thought, and like a wolf eyed the pile of forceps. I cut away a huge hunk of female flesh and one of the blood vessels. It looked like a whitish tube, but not a single drop of blood flowed from it. I closed it with a forceps and moved on. I plunged these forceps everywhere there might be a blood vessel. Artery. Artery. Where the devil is it? The operating room looked like a real clinic. Forceps were clamped in bunches. The nurses used them to pull away the flesh with gauze, and I began to cut through the round bone with a fine-toothed saw. Why doesn't she die? It is astounding. Oh, how much a person can live through. The bone fell. In the hand of Demyan Lukic rested all that remained of what had once been the girl's leg. Shreds, meat, bones, all of this was tossed aside, and on the table the girl lay, seemingly smaller by a third, with the stump pulled to the side. Hang in there, a little bit more. Don't die, I passionately willed. Wait until you are in the ward. Let me escape from this most terrible situation of my life with that. Then they handed over the suturing thread, and with shaking knees I sewed the skin with sparse stitches. But stopped, took stock, and with inspired recognition inserted a drain, applied a gauze pad. Sweat clouded my eyes, and it seemed to me I was in a sauna. I blew out a breath. It was hard to look at the stump, at her waxen face. Alive? I asked. Alive. Like a silent echo, the Feldsher and Anna Nikolaevna answered in unison. She will live for a minute more, one set of lips, the Feldsher whispered noiselessly in my ear. Then, breaking off, he carefully advised, the second leg, maybe. It would be better not to touch it, doctor. Gauze, you know. We can wrap it with that. Otherwise, she won't make it to the ward, don't you think? And it would be better that she didn't die on the operating table. Plaster, I hoarsely commanded, pushed by an unknown strength. The entire floor was splattered with white spots. We were all covered in sweat. The half-corpse lay motionless. The right leg was wrapped in a plaster cast, except for the gaping hole I had ingeniously left open as a window to the fracture. She lives, the Feldsher wheezed in surprise. All that was left was to lift her, and on the sheet the great ruins, a third of her body we left on the operating table. In the corridor the shadows wavered, the attendants scurried about, and I saw the disheveled man slink along the wall and let out a dry wail. But they took him away, and it was quiet. In the surgery, I washed my hands, bloody to the elbows. Doctor, you have undoubtedly done many amputations? Anna Nikolaevna abruptly asked. You did very, very well. Just as well as Leopold. From her lips the word Leopold sounded like the doyen. I distrustfully searched their faces, and in everyone's, Demyan Lukic's and Pelagia Ivanova's, I registered surprise and respect in their eyes. Well, I've only done it twice, you see. Why did I lie? It is not even clear to me now. In the hospital it was quiet. Completely. "When she dies, be sure to come and get me," I ordered the feldsher in a low voice, and he, rather than saying, "All right," instead respectfully answered, "I'm at your service." In a few minutes I was again beside the green lamp in the study of the doctor's apartment. The building was quiet. An ashy face reflected in the blackened glass. "No, I am not like the false Dmitri, and I see you've aged somehow. Creases over the bridge of your nose. Any moment they will knock. They will tell me, 'She has died.' Yes, I'll go and look at her a last time. Any moment, I'll hear the knock." A knock sounded at the door. This was after 2.5 months. Through the window, one of the first winter suns shone. He came in. I saw him only then. Yes, truly, the cut of his face was right. About 45, eyes sparkling. Then rustling. On 2 crutches hobbled the enchantingly beautiful one-legged girl in a wide skirt, embroidered at the hem with a red border. She looked at me. Her cheeks were colored with pink paint. In Moscow, and I stood to write the address. They can make you a prosthetic there. An artificial leg. "Kiss his hand," the father unexpectedly blurted. I was so startled that instead of her lips, I kissed her nose. Then, swaying on the crutches, she unfolded a bundle, and out fell a long, snow-white towel embroidered with a simple red rooster. This was what she had hidden under her pillow during my checks. I remember the thread lay on the table. "I can't take it," I harshly said, and even shook my head. But on the girl appeared such an expression, such eyes, and so I took it. And it hung in my bedroom in Muria for many years before traveling about with me. In the end it was dilapidated, faded, moth-eaten, and finally it disappeared, just as memories fade and disappear. The end.